Yeah, I'm working with a company that's got some really pretty wild data too. They can actually, it literally gives you demographic data. So it'll tell you if they're married, if they have 2 cars, how many kids they have, their credit card debt, and a bunch of other stuff. I'm like, oh my word.
What?
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another brand new episode of the What the Nell podcast with yours truly, Nell Tice. I have a guest with me today that I am really excited to talk to because we're going to talk all about data and websites and e-commerce, all the things. So I know a lot of you out there are going to be really excited to listen to that. But my guest, I will introduce him. His name is Matthew Stafford. He is a serial entrepreneur and the managing partner of Build, Grow, Scale, where he helps e-commerce brands optimize for profit and scale sustainably. With over 30 years of business experience spanning concrete salons, digital products, and e-commerce, Matthew has personally helped hundreds of stores surpass the 7- and 8-figure mark. He is known for his data-driven approach to website optimization, his no-fluff teaching style, and for founding BGS Live, which was once the largest e-commerce event in North America. That's quite a resume, Matthew. Welcome to the What the Nell podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to start with your philosophy. Why is clean data the non-negotiable first step for building a profitable e-commerce brand?
Yeah, I think if the data is poor and you're using that to make decisions, then kind of garbage in, garbage out. And we've had good data and we've not had good data, and the decision making that we make is much better, obviously, when it's good.
Yeah, of course. Can you give us an example? Like, what is good data versus bad data?
Yeah, so for us, a lot of times people think that they have their Google Analytics set up because they have enhanced Google Analytics, but that essentially gives you a couple of the ingredients. It doesn't really tell you what's happening. And so it is effective to use it, but not to make a lot of decisions from, because essentially you would have to make a lot of assumptions. And for us, when we go in and look at the data on a website, we actually know like how many times they click the button and what they convert at, how far they watched in the video, what the main menu navigation. So we don't want to guess. We want to know what they're doing and then compare that to what we want them to do and use that data in order to get them to make the decisions, or at least take the actions that work for us as a store owner.
Sure, that makes a lot of sense. I don't necessarily I don't include assumptions with data because they are just that, they're assumptions. The data to me is final, like numbers don't lie. Yeah. So that to me that makes so much sense. But in your experience, what is a very common or the most common mistake that entrepreneurs will make when interpreting their store's data, and how can they fix it?
Yeah, I would say probably the more common one that they make is they don't look at their data. I'm shocked at how many people they have a lot to do, and so they assume they do assume a lot of variables rather than digging into the data. And that's actually how I learned in the very beginning, the hard way, because we went from very profitable to not that profitable over about a 3-month span by adding apps and upsells and different things into our store. And I didn't understand why it had stopped working until we started looking into the data, and the data told us. And within 48 hours, we were able to turn it around, where if I hadn't taken that course, I literally probably would have lost that business. I just wanted to figure it out. I didn't have enough background in what I was doing to be able to go in and troubleshoot it.
That's pretty crazy. So can you give us a real world example of how incomplete data or not looking at your data can cost a brand like big time?
Yeah. So for us, I would say when you're buying traffic and you think, the Facebook says, oh, we sent you 1,000 visitors, you made 20 sales or 30 sales, And so you start doing your math based off of that, and you're wondering, like, why isn't this converting much better than that? And then we went into our data and realized that essentially when I had started adding those apps and doing all that, our bounce rate went from like 40% to 70%, or it might even been the mid 70s. And so essentially 75% of everybody that I was paying to come see my site was literally bouncing before the site would load. And so I was really only showing a very small percentage who were putting up with how poorly the site was doing in order to make a purchase. And so that had a big difference in right away when we fixed the site speed of it now starting to convert, because people just aren't going to wait around for it to load.
Sure. Yeah, that's really interesting. I recently just started kind of noticing that when I'm on a brand's website and I'm looking to, like, I just recently I was shopping for something and I was putting things in the cart and then I abandoned it and came back, and I just thought to myself, they know every move that I'm making on this site.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty wild to actually know what kind of data is available to you so that you can make these decisions for your brand.
Yeah, I'm working with a company that's got some really pretty wild data too. They can actually scrape the people that are visiting the site that don't leave their email, and then resolve that data and give it to you. We have one site that has quite a volume, and they're essentially resolving about 1,000 leads a day on this site, so about 30,000 a month, where people are browsing the site but never leave an email, and then you can actually email them knowing that they were just on your site as a warm lead, and have it literally gives you demographic data. So it'll tell you if they're married, if they have 2 cars, how many kids they have, their credit card debt, and a bunch of other stuff. I'm like, oh my word.
What?
Yeah, it's pretty wild. And now you can use all of that data and plug it into AI and get more insights from it. In the end, I really see that as a way of the consumer, the merchants being able to serve the consumers better, because it can't really trick you into doing anything. I don't believe. So I think eventually that will turn out to be, the data will be used in a way that we'll visit sites that we want to see, and it'll be customized to us. And so my experience on the exact same site may be a little bit different than yours, but it'll be exactly what I want based off of my behavior.
Sure. Now, how does that work exactly in the realm of security and legalities? Because I thought I was under the impression, now I don't have an e-commerce store, but I was under the impression that in order to collect an email address, I needed to have someone's permission, or I needed to have someone put an email in, let alone any other data that I would collect from somebody on my site. Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so those consent banners that pop up and say, hey, we're collecting cookies, and you click yes. If you click yes, that gives them permission to go ahead and resolve your data and do that. If you click no, then it doesn't, and they won't. But they get about 70% of people click yes, knowing that it is meant to tailor the shopping experience for them, or their browsing experience. And so, again, I guess there's probably ways to misuse that. I just don't think that way, and so I would never encourage someone to do it that way.
Right.
And so really, I don't see an issue with it. I click yes on them too, because I don't want to see a bunch of ads that don't relate to me.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. There's a give and a take with all of this. If you want to see tailored information, that's great. Click yes. And if you don't want your data collected, then click no. But yeah, absolutely. I think it's important to certainly improve, obviously, the website user's experience. So
you're not giving them. I wouldn't like put my social security number out, or my driver's license, or things like that.
No.
There's a lot
Let's
stricter, things around that.
So you have helped hundreds of stores hit 7 and 8 figures. And so what are the key data points that you're looking for first when you're optimizing for profit?
Making the checkout work better. So average e-commerce about 2%, a little over 2%, which I always thought that was broken because most people, and I came from the traffic world. I drove a lot of traffic to t-shirts
Mm-hmm.
and sold a lot of t-shirts, about $15 million worth
Wow.
over a 3.5 year period. So I learned a lot about traffic. But when I got into the e-commerce platforms and started looking at the data, I'm like, man, it just feels like I have to go find another 100 people for 2 more sales. I would rather look at the 98 people that raised their hand and came to my site saying that they were interested. I would rather find 2 more of those and double my business on the same ad spend than work so hard to get another 100 visitors. And then that just brought me to the principle that Dan Kennedy talks about, where he who can acquire the most to get a customer wins. And so I'm like, okay, if I'm making 4 sales per 100, my competitor's making 2, now I can buy traffic more profitably, definitely at a bigger scale. And so I'm going to win market share. And that was really how we started, was figuring out how to get the cart and the checkout to convert better.
Mm-hmm.
And then all the changes that we made on the store actually drove more money, where a lot of people, they'll start working on their homepage and then their product page, but they never fix their cart and checkout because they don't have enough time to do it, and they don't see any results from that because all that does is get you to the next step. So we always start backwards, start right at the money, and you make a little change there, and all of a sudden you instantly have more revenue to work with, gives you a longer timeline to work on the business.
Yeah, that's really smart. So what's one metric that most owners or founders will obsess over, but doesn't really move the needle?
Well, there's so many that matter. I would say I think that they place too much importance on just the conversion number, thinking that a better conversion means more profit. And that doesn't necessarily translate, because I can put their products on sale where they make less money, but they'll have a higher conversion rate.
Mm-hmm.
What we really care about is that all the aspects of the store work better so that people enjoy the shopping experience and it's easy for them to complete. Not everything needs to be 20% off or buy now or all this other stuff. So I would say that they obsess over the conversion metric when that can really be gamified and not the only metric that matters.
Yeah, that's a really good point. So if someone comes to you and says, "We're getting traffic, but it's not converting," what's the first thing that you're going to analyze?
Other data. Yeah, like we do this all day, every day. And to be totally honest, we can look at the site and say, oh, these are some things that are pretty obvious, aren't going to help. But without looking at the data, we're probably going to guess wrong more than half the time, just because every site's contextual, every demographic,
Mm-hmm.
the different sites serve matters to how people go through the site. And so for us, yeah, we really want to look at as much detail as we can, and that way we're not guessing, and we can actually help the store owner.
Mm. Also a really good point. So when you talk about scaling sustainably, what exactly does that mean to you, especially in an e-commerce world that's chasing rapid growth? I mean, like sustainable and rapid don't always mix like oil and water, you know?
Yeah, for me, what sustainable means is that the owner can consistently show up the same way and get things done. And so for me, a good example of that would be automated flows in your emails. And so there we have like 7 different automated flows that we do, like win back, VIP customers, new buyers, repeat buyers, high value purchasers. And so we create flows for them so that when certain actions happen on the site, it's automatically taken care of. The owner's not in there like going, up, there's another high value buyer. I need to go set up this campaign. And so really What I mean by sustainable is make a commitment to put in one flow a week. And so you don't, you look at it, you go, oh, I have these 7 flows to do. That's going to take me all week long. I don't have all week to put into this. No, but you probably have 3 or 4 hours. You can get one of them in and this week, and then 3 or 4 hours and get one of them in next week. And each time that you get one of those set up, that's a new income source that's working automatically. And that's what I mean by sustainable, that you don't burn out because you're trying to do everything every day. And there is a lot to do, and there's a lot of levers to pull. And so not taking that into consideration with how you build your systems will most likely cause you to fail.
Yeah, obviously entrepreneurs are notorious for burning out and taking on all the things. So I feel like when it comes to that, because your website, I mean, to me, that's the face of your business.
Yeah, it's your conversation with your client or your customer. And so if it doesn't communicate well, you're not going to have a good conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. In all the realms of conversation. So working with like concrete companies, salons, digital products, all of these experience obviously shaped your approach to e-commerce. So tell us a little bit about how each different industry helped shape your experience in this industry.
Well, the concrete was hard work and long hours, and it doesn't wait for you. And so I probably learned a good work ethic that, a lot of times I think everybody believes that, oh, e-commerce is this laptop lifestyle. And it probably was in the early days. It's not anymore because the competition is more and it's fierce, and, you have rising ad costs and a bunch of other stuff. So you need to have a good work ethic. So I would say I probably certainly learned being willing to do things that weren't fun to get the job done, and you need that. The salons, for sure, like it probably taught me a lot of customer care and how much that relationship matters for them to come back again and again and again, not just making them a number or treating them a certain way. So yeah, both of those, I would say they, in their own way, created how we show up for our online customers, which we treat them just like they are a regular customer, and the email and the relationship that you build with them. I think that's one of the key components to a successful e-commerce store. And typically, I always say all revenue is not equal, because you can do $100,000 on the front end, but if it's all customer acquisition, it might have cost you 10 grand to do that. And so on the back end, when you make 100 grand with email, maybe 50% is cost of goods and labor. And so 50 grand of it is actually profitable. And that's where you take your store from not making it to actually becoming very profitable.
Really good tips. I hope you guys are listening and taking notes at the same time, or watching on YouTube, of course. That's really great advice. And so obviously, you probably work with a variety of brands, some that have great margins and some that are worried about just blowing their margins on all of this e-commerce work and their website and everything. What is one change that an e-commerce owner could make today that would make huge impact without seeing their data?
Well, the one thing that we do on every site that we go to work for is we put a question on their thank you page that asks the people who just bought, and we ask them, what's the one thing that almost made you not buy? And they will tell you what they didn't understand or what was difficult or where there was friction. And every single time when we take that information and go back and fix it on the website or fix it in our messaging, it ends in more conversion. So everybody can do that.
Wow. Yeah. That's amazing. That's a really good opportunity to get feedback from your customers. I mean, that's pretty awesome. I don't know how many websites I've actually gone to and seen that.
Yeah.
And that's really amazing. And it helps the customer feel heard and seen.
Yeah. And they know that you care, that you're trying to improve. And
Yeah.
so they are rooting for you. We've found that when we have that question and then we make those changes, a lot of those customers that responded, because we send them a gift card, a lot of those people will end up becoming very high lifetime value customers.
Yeah, that's the importance of nurturing that customer relationship. And I may even argue that it's more important in e-commerce because you don't have that face-to-face,
Yeah.
that handshake to handshake relationship. And it's so easy for someone to just click and drop off. And,
Yeah. Or
there's,
they see an ad for your competitor and go there, and all of a sudden they're gone.
wow. Yeah, it's just amazing. The psychology behind how customers interact with websites is just, it's mind blowing to
Yeah,
me.
it's really fun.
Yeah, I was I'm glad you said it's really fun. I was going to ask you, what made you want to get into data and websites and all these things? Like, tell us what was the journey like in getting to this point?
Yeah, I think I don't see it as data. I see it as how the person thinks. And
Mm,
so it's kind of the psychology that I really enjoy of it. And the stuff that we teach is very principle based. And so I'm always reading uh, the emotions and attention and how people make decisions and how the brain does that. And so what we're trying to do is see how they're interacting with the site and then make the site be a better experience for how people would actually make good quality decisions. So we're not
mhm.
trying to trick or use a hack. We're using principles that really doesn't matter what the product is. It's how people interact with the website itself and how they think.
Yeah, that's really cool to hear, because you just think data is data and
Yeah.
there's no like emotion or
And
there's
now
just
with
this.
AI, the AI can really give us a lot more insight on the data than we could do by ourselves manually. So
Sure.
over the last year and a half, our whole world is changing and quickly because these large language models can analyze just like mountains and mountains of data and give us insights that we would never find by ourselves manually like we used to do it.
Oh my gosh. I'm kind of excited and a little like, what are we gonna find? What are we gonna come across honestly in the future with AI? What do you think the next big thing in data is for AI?
Yeah, for me, I just think it's honestly it's like an amplifier. If you
Mm,
use it correctly, I think it's going to take the people that are good at what they do and 4 or 5x them. And so essentially, these big brands that we've worked for that hit the $10 million mark, they typically got a 30-person team between customer service and fulfillment and all these different things. What we're finding now is that people are building quite a bit bigger businesses with less people. And
mm,
I'm not seeing the ones that already have a big team get rid of them. They're using it to amplify their existing people. So I do think that we'll see smaller teams that are way more efficient, and that will allow the business owner to have a more profitable business, which is really why we're in business anyways, to make money.
so true. So true. So I want to ask you one last question. I do have a rapid fire series of questions I think will be fun towards the end
Okay.
of the episode. But you're known for your no fluff teaching style. Why do you think people overcomplicate e-commerce and like how can they cut through all the noise?
Well, I think it is complicated, and I think that's why I just tell them the way that it is, because in the end, they're asking us to help them solve a problem. If they didn't have a problem, they wouldn't come to us. And so I'm always surprised how many will go, "Oh yeah, we can't figure this out. This is a problem." And go, "Well, you need to do something right here." Yeah, but we're not gonna. That part we can't change. I'm like,
Mhm.
but that part's the problem, and they don't want to hear that. And so, uh, if I'm just trying to be nice, I'm not actually serving them and doing what's best for them. And so for me, it matters more that they get the right information than for them to like me. I really care. Like they'll like me more if I make them more money in the end. And so then that makes it for a good business for both of us.
There you go. Awesome. Well, this is, oh my gosh, there's been so much tangible takeaways and advice. Now I sound like AI, tangible takeaways that you've given us in this episode. But I do have a few questions that I want to ask you for a rapid fire style session. So don't think about it too much. Tell me what is the first thing that comes to the top of your head when I ask you these. I have 4 of them. So are you ready?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, let's go. What is your favorite underrated e-commerce tool right now?
The large language model.
Yeah. Cool. Love that. Biggest e-commerce myth that needs to die?
E-commerce myth. That it's a laptop lifestyle. I don't think that really is the case anymore at all.
Yeah. Cool. If you could only track one metric for a store for 30 days, what would it be and why?
Revenue per user, because that would tell me how the site is actually performing. So the changes that I made matter if they're helping or hurting.
Okay, cool. What is one thing you wish every e-commerce founder would stop doing like yesterday?
Focusing on traffic before their store works. It's amazing how many of them are obsessed with the ads when they're totally negating the experience on the website. And what I mean by that is I get all kinds of owners that come to me and go, yeah, the ads just aren't working. And I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, yeah, we're getting like hundreds of visitors, but no sales. I'm like, okay, well, the ad's working because what an ad is you just interrupted someone doing something and they clicked on it and came to your site. The ad worked. What's not working is actually your site. And it's amazing how many of them struggle with that correlation. The ad did its job. It got the person there. It's your site that just not keeping them there.
Oh, that's the mic drop moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's some tough love right there. But man, I mean, what can you not do with that? Like, that's the straight up answer. So fix the site.
Yeah.
Man, I love it. I love the no fluff teaching style. I wish that, there was more of that in this world. Maybe we could solve some problems faster and all make more money.
Sure. That's cool.
Well, Matthew, I so appreciate your time with me today. I thank you so much. How can people get in touch with you? Where can they find you? Give us all the details.
Yeah, the website's buildgrowscale.com. And my email is matt@buildgrowscale.com. You can schedule a call and we'll do an audit of your site live with you and give you some actionable data. And then if you would like to work with us and that's possible, we'll figure it out.
Awesome. Matthew, that's amazing. Thank you, you guys. Please go visit Matthew's website, go email him, do all the things, get the audit, because why not? So if you've been listening thus far, thank you so much. We truly appreciate it. If you're listening on your favorite audio platform, please leave us a review. And that's how we grow here at the What the Nell podcast. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like this video, and pass this video along to a friend, especially a friend that is in e-commerce. So thank you all so much. And as always, I will catch you on the next one.